We need to do more to protect Palestinian civilians. We've been clear that as Israel conducts its campaign to defeat Hamas, how it does so matters. It matters because it's the right and lawful thing to do. It matters because failure to do so plays into the hands of Hamas and other terror groups. There will be no partners for peace if they're consumed by humanitarian catastrophe and alienated by any perceived indifference to their plight. This is what binds us as human beings.
That was Secretary of State Antony Blinken after meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu earlier today, where Blinken made the case for a humanitarian pause in the war to protect civilians. This comes as NBC News reports that top Biden administration officials have expressed, quote, growing concern about how the Israelis are carrying out their attacks on Gaza and uncertainty about whether they can be reined in. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is dire, as the Israeli Defense Forces say it has encircled Gaza City, and officials say more than 9,000 people have been killed, with the United Nations official calling Gaza a graveyard for children. There's still 240 hostages in Gaza, and in their meeting today, Netanyahu showed Blinken new video of the October 7th attack that killed 1,400 people, which Blinken said was, quote, almost beyond the human capacity to process, to digest. Netanyahu made it clear to Blinken that there will be no pause in the invasion until all the hostages are returned. Joining me now is NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber, who is at the Israel-Gaza border. Ellison, thank you so much for joining us this evening. What is the latest? There is a report now about an ambulance that was struck. What do you know about that, and what can you share?
Yeah, so there's been a bit of back and forth there. Let me take you through what we know right now. So the Palestinian Red Crescent has just released another statement further explaining what they say happened today. We're talking about two different strikes on a group of ambulances. The Palestinian Red Crescent says there was a convoy of ambulances leaving Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City. They say there were 5 ambulances in all. 4 of them were ambulances that are owned and operated by Gaza's Ministry of Health, which by nature of working inside of Gaza, that would make them a Hamas-run agency. Then 1 of those 5 ambulances is owned and operated by the Palestinian Red Crescent. According to the Palestinian Red Crescent, those hospitals were leaving, headed towards the Rafah border crossing with Egypt, with injured patients who were going to cross from Gaza into Egypt to get medical care. At some point along the way on their route, they say there was massive damage to the road they were going to be taking, and so they sort of turned around to take a different route. That's when, according to the Palestinian Red Crescent, the Israeli Air Force targeted the first ambulance in that convoy and struck them from above. They say then the other ambulances started head back to Al-Shifa Hospital, and then again, one of the ambulances in this convoy was struck when it was at the gates of the hospital. Based on the numbers so far right now, they're saying at least 15 people have died in these attacks, possibly as many as 60 have been injured. Israel's defense forces, they say, yes, we did strike some ambulances, but they claim that they did that because they had evidence that the ambulance was being used by Hamas militants. They released a statement saying that was their rationale for striking this convoy and those ambulances. They went on to claim they would release additional information to support those claims, additional evidence. They have not yet done that. They say that Hamas was using the ambulance to transport weapons and that they have used it to operate out of. One thing that I do think is important to talk about, Jason, is that there was a press conference about 30 minutes before that convoy of ambulances left the hospital. One of our NBC News teams in Gaza was at the press conference. And during that press conference, the director for Gaza's Ministry of Health said, we have a convoy of ambulances that are headed this way. This is what they're doing, and this is the route they will be taking. Then they were struck. Palestinian Red Crescent says this was absolutely beyond the bounds of a legitimate target. Back to you.
NBC's Ellison Barber, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Let's bring in Elise Labott, contributing editor of Political Magazine and senior adjunct professor at the American University School of International Service. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Dr. Abbott, here's my just very basic question, and I know we are not military experts here, but it seems to me, based on what Secretary of State Blinken said, if Netanyahu, if we take him at his word, that Netanyahu's primary concern is the return of hostages taken by Hamas. How is the current strategy employed by Israel effective in getting those people returned? It would seem to me that small strike forces or, sending people on the ground would be a much more effective way of returning hostages than bombing. Is there some part that we're missing here? Is there some sort of strategic thing that Israel is thinking about that is beyond me, at least at this particular point?
Well, there's a lot to unpack, and that is a priority, is the hostages. But, there are two priorities that the Israelis have, right? One of them is the hostages. The other is to completely gut Hamas, kill all of the leadership, destroy all their military capability. And so I think one is rubbing up against the other. And, you and I might say, is that a very effective policy? Is that a very effective strategy? The United States is saying to the Israelis, and have been even before they went in, this is not the strategy. It's more of one that you've suggested, more of a surgical, more of an in and out, more very targeted ground strategy in terms of taking out some of these targets. But at the same time, the U.S. is also giving mixed messages here to the Israelis. They're saying Israel has the obligation to defend itself. We have Israel's back. And then they say, be mindful of the loss of life. I don't think, obviously, we don't know exactly what they're saying to the Israelis behind the scenes. I don't think it's a green light by any measure, but I think they're giving the Israelis a lot of leeway to how they should be fighting this campaign, even if the United States and a lot of Arab states don't think that this is the right way to go.